Uh, Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Postgraduate Certificate in Early Years Practice with Early Years Teacher Status webinar. My name is j.h.elsey, and I'm the Programme Director for the programme. So this evening we're going to go through a presentation. If you'd like to put your cameras on, that would be lovely. If you'd like to not, that's fine as well. We have a chat function in Teams, which will allow you to actually ask questions as the presentation progresses. So if you just type in, if you have any questions, if you type in, and I'll be able to answer those. But there'll also be an opportunity at the end for any questions if you have any. This presentation is being recorded, so just to let you know, so that we can actually share it with other people that have registered to actually attend who aren't here at the moment. Okay, so I think we'll get started. So during this presentation, I will be introducing to you the key features of the training in becoming a qualified early years teacher through the university here, through the Institute of Education. I'll be providing you with information about the different routes available and the pathways into gaining early years teacher status. And then I'll talk you through the next steps if for considering an application. So if after today's presentation you'd like to go on and make an application for the programme, we'll talk through how you can do that. So just thinking about, you're here because you're interested in gaining the early years teacher status and gaining the postgrad certificate. And just to let you know that the Institute of Education is actually ranked 9th in the UK for education, and that's through the Guardian's University Guide 2024. So you will have quality teaching while you're here, and that has been ranked, as I say, we've been ranked 9th in the UK. So why would you choose University of Reading? Why would you choose us here? Well, we are an established provider of high quality training, research and education. This programme has been running here. We've been providing this programme since the government first announced that they were going to fund training programmes to actually increase the number of graduates in early year settings, because the research has indicated strongly that where there is a graduate in an early years setting, the outcomes for children are greatly improved. All of the staff here really believe that you can transform lives through education, and that's at the heart of our commitment to developing caring, reflective, professional educational practitioners. And reflection is the really key word there. We do encourage you to be reflective, to reflect on your own practice, to reflect on the research, to reflect on our teaching, your knowledge you're gaining. We also have large and strong networks that actually support students here. And the impact of our work, both locally and globally, are through those networks. We have a well-established partnership where we work with over 400 schools in early years settings. And globally, our research, consultancy and other projects extend to countries such as varied as China, Jamaica, the US and Singapore. So it's not just around the Reading area. We are actually nationally and internationally known, and we have contacts and connections both nationally and internationally. So the programme is delivered here at the London Road campus. We're very lucky. This was the original university campus when it was first established. We're very lucky to actually have our learning hub here, which is a fantastic space that's got beautiful resources, teaching resources that you can borrow once you're a student. But it's also a very green campus. There's lots of open spaces, and we make use of those open spaces in our teaching. We are outside where we can, and we do take our teaching outside as well, as we would expect an early years teacher to do in their teaching. So this is an aerial view of our beautiful campus. As you can see, it is very green. And in any season, it has its own vibe, really. This campus, that photograph was taken in the summer, obviously, but at the moment, it's got another feel to it in winter. And this is the White Nice campus. And a student, if you're a student at the University of Reading, you'll also have full access to all facilities, services and societies at the White Nights campus, such as the sports park or our excellent accommodation. Now, the White Nights campus is literally a 15-minute walk away, 10 to 15-minute walk away from the Institute of Education. And we regularly go up to White Nights. That's where our main library is, but there's also all of the other facilities up at White Nights as well. So we've talked about our partnership area, and I wanted really to show you just how far our partnership area goes. So these are all the areas where we are working with early year settings, and where we either have currently or we have had students who have attended the Institute of Education to undertake this programme. And obviously we have then visited our students in these places. So as you can see, it is a wide area. And students come here because of our reputation, but also because other students, other alumni students, people that have gone through our programs, or they know somebody who's undertaken our programs, tell them about the quality of teaching and experiences and support that they received. We're also committed to our climate and sustainable education programme. We believe that climate and sustainable education is everybody's responsibility, and we embed this into our teaching, and we ask you to embed it into your practice as well. So we've set out a vision that all initial teacher trainers should be able to access training that empowers them to effectively incorporate climate education within their teaching across all levels and all subjects as part of the National Climate Education Action Plan. And that includes early years as well. And we have specific teaching on climate and sustainable education. And we also encourage our students to introduce climate and sustainable projects, become the lead within their setting as well, so that we're educating our youngest children in the importance of this agenda. So within our programme, our climate and sustainability programme, we will look at what is happening to our climate, how to help children learn about the climate and sustainability in an age appropriate, accessible way. So we look at what's appropriate for early years. And then we also help you to develop your own positioning as a teacher. So we help you to reflect on where you stand on climate and sustainable education, what it means to you. Climate justice, the importance of current and future changes to our environment and climate on ourselves and others, and implications for teachers. And then how to translate knowledge and theory into change and personal action through building climate and sustainable education into your planning, teaching and children's learning. So it becomes embedded in your practice, so that it isn't seen as an add-on, it's seen as an integral part of your teaching. And if you go to our website, our specific website, you can find out more about what the University of Reading is doing in its world-leading work in climate science. So let's talk about the programme. It's the Postgraduate Certificate in Early Years with Early Years Teacher status. So early years teachers are specialists in early childhood development. Their child development knowledge is in depth and actually informs and is embedded into their practice. It's a one-year programme, so we start in September and the programme ends mid-July, and it's delivered here at London Road on a Tuesday afternoons and Tuesday evenings. The entry requirements for this programme are exactly the same as PGC Primary or Primary School Direct. So you do need to have a GCSE grade C/4 or above in English, Maths and Science. For the graduate entry, the DFE, Department for Education, actually fund this programme, and there are bursaries available. And we'll go through what the difference is between the two pathways. And then graduate employment based, again, that's fully funded. And then also their employer is given an incentive to support, a financial incentive to support the students whilst on programme. And then we also offer an assessment only, which doesn't include the postgraduate certificate. It just includes the assessment only against the early years teacher status standards. And that is self-funded by students, and the fees for that is £2,500. So if you apply for either the graduate entry or the graduate employment base, so graduate entry is for people that are not working in the sector, but do actually want to work in an early years setting as a graduate, as the lead teacher for practice in relation to babies birth to 5. You will complete two master's modules of 60 credits in total. And then there is ongoing assessment against the 8 national early years teacher status standards. And then there is also a variety of placement opportunities as part of the programme. And the placement opportunities vary depending on which pathway you are on. In addition to the entry requirements, those applying for teacher training, so all teacher training programmes, must show that they can communicate effectively in both spoken and written English. That is a Department for Education requirement, and we actually initially assess that at the interview stage. And then if they're accepted, they undergo a disclosure and barring service check, so DBS. For those of you who are already employed in the sector, you will have an enhanced DBS anyway, and you don't need to reapply. And for those of you that are applying for the graduate entry, the non-employed pathway, you will need to complete that process and gain an enhanced DBS. And then there are also other background checks as well, so that we also ask you to go through. And then you have to meet the requirements for fitness to teach through a medical questionnaire process. And again, that is the same for any initial teacher education programme. So EYTS actually mirrors the other 2 IT programmes that we offer here at the Institute of Education. So the pathways, let's go into those in more detail. So graduate entry. So this pathway is for trainees who are not employed in the early years sector. And there is postgraduate training grant to cover the fees. So there are no tutor fees, academic tutor fees associated with this programme. And then in addition to that, depending on your degree classification, there are also bursaries available as well. And they are paid across the year at 3 key points. In order for you to be able to, if you're still on programme, you remain on programme, then the bursary comes out in 3 key points. And then there's the graduate, that's the same one again, sorry. Okay. And then for those of you that are employed, there is the graduate employment-based pathway. And again, there is the postgraduate training grant to cover the tutor fees, and then your employer will receive £7,000 again across 3 key points across the year. And that can only be spent on supporting you on completing this programme. So examples of how this funding can be used: supply cover to release you to come into university, but also to allow you to complete the placements that are a requirement of the programme. It may be that your employer chooses to enhance your salary. It can be used for any other training costs, so any resources that you may need. But usually employers use this funding to ensure that there is staff cover, so there's practitioner cover, to allow students to actually attend university and attend the path and the placements that they have to attend. As I said, it can only be spent on the EYTS student. It can't be used for resources within the setting or for any other resources that are not associated with the student. Excuse me. So when we talk to students, we sort of explain that you're going to be doing like 2 programs in one. So the postgraduate certificate in early years practice, as I say, has 60 master's credits. There are 2 master's modules. One is a very long, thin module that goes across the whole year, and that's called the reflective practitioner. And then there's a short 20 credit module that's our families and learning module, and that's delivered in the spring term, whereas the reflective practitioner module, like I say, is delivered across the 3 terms. There are placements associated that you have to attend for the early years teacher status element of the programme. So all students, irrespective of what pathway they are on, complete 10 days in a Key Stage 1 placement. That is a non-assessed placement. It is an observational placement. So you're not assessed by your tutor, but there are work-based tasks associated. And then the other placement, so if you're on the graduate entry pathway, you will complete 3 further placements, 2 long placements that focus on the 2 different age ranges. So you'll be working with babies to birth to 2, and then another placement where you'll be working with 3s to 4s, 2 to 4s. And then there is a specialist placement of 6 weeks. And that can be in a variety of different settings, depending on your interest, depending on placements that are available. So it may be in a specific, a specialised nursery that are offering provision for children with special educational needs. It could be in a specialist setting that follows a true Montessori curriculum. It could be in a very community-based it could be in a community-based setting that's offering not just early years foundation stage, the curriculum, but also increased support for the families. So trainees are assessed against the early years foundation stage. So your practice, your delivery, your understanding of the curriculum. And through that actually you demonstrate your understanding and knowledge of child development. And the 8 early years teacher status natural standards. If you haven't already had a look at those, I'd advise you to have a look at those because each standard has what we call supporting statements that you have to meet. So it's not just about meeting 8 overarching standards. There's ongoing assessment throughout the programme in relation to early years teacher status. So you will know where you are in relation to meeting the standards throughout the whole year. You have regular feedback, you have regular information with your link tutor, and your link tutor is the person that actually assesses you against the early years foundation stage and the early EYTS standards. And then also you will complete what we call narratives that aren't academic pieces of work. They have to be written at level 7, but they're not academic pieces of work in the same way as we would expect your master's modules assessments to be completed, because they are focusing purely on your practice and the standards. So they're an opportunity for you to actually document, write about what you do in practice and how you demonstrate that you meet the standards. So in relation to early years teacher status, your trainees compile a portfolio of evidence, and that is an e-portfolio, electronic, and that's where it's very structured. We give you the structure where you have to put it all, how you put it together and what needs to be included, but that's where you document. It could be something like your planning, an observation from another member of staff. It could be your mentor's observation. It could be a discussion with a parent. And then observations of your practice are completed by your link tutor. So that's a member of staff here. Mentors, that's somebody in the setting or on placement, and your colleagues as well. Your colleagues either on a placement or in your employed setting. And then you complete work-based tasks as well. So as I said at the beginning of the programme, you are allocated a university linked tutor. And we come and visit you throughout the programme. So depending on which pathway you're on, we will either be visiting you as a GE trainee, a graduate entry trainee. We will visit you 4 times a year. For a graduate employed based trainee, we come and visit you 3 times a year. And the reason we do that is because people that are employed in the sector have more knowledge around the early years foundation stage, and usually more knowledge around child development than our graduate entry students do. And your link tutor completes the assessment against the early years teacher status standards. And we complete observations of you, your practice. We have discussions with you, which we record, we document, and also we assess your portfolios. So what do our students say? So these are just a few quotes really from our students. We have consistent feedback from our students that they feel completely supported by their link tutor, but also their academic tutor. So that would be another support system for you. Also, they find that the past students have found the placements really helpful. We work within our partnership settings. We now have a majority of our partnership settings have early years teachers working in them, and they've all gone through our program. So our graduate entry students are being placed in placements where there is already an early years teacher, and they are usually their mentor. And that, that's really helpful and supportive because they've already gone through the program, they've undertaken the program, they've gained the status, and they fully understand the expectations that are placed on students undertaking this program. For graduate employed trainees, this what we call a second assessed placement. So it's not just in their own workplace. They have to, it's around February, March time, they have to go and complete another placement in a completely different setting with children of an age range that they haven't got enough experience of working with. And usually it's baby's birth to 2 that practitioners need that additional experience with. Again, we help to place you in settings where there's an early years teacher status already, and we will come and visit you in that setting and complete an assessment of your practice in that setting. Are there any questions at this point before we go on and look about admissions? If you'd either want to type them into the chat or you'd like to raise your hand and have a conversation through your mic and camera. No? Okay. Oh, someone's typing. I'll just wait. So we don't lose that important information about admissions and how you apply. There's a lot of information to take in. I appreciate that. All in one go. But you will be sent this presentation, this recording, so you can go back and revisit it. And I'm always available to go through via email to answer any questions if you think of anything afterwards. So we'll just give a few minutes for the message to come in. Seems like this is a long message. I'll let them carry on. I'll come back to that in a minute. So how do you apply to undertake this program? So for our PG Cert Early Years Practice, Early Years Teacher Status program, you apply directly through our online application system, RISIS, and that the IPP login screen. So there's a screenshot of our ITS. So it's through our admissions, through our RISIS, through our admissions process. And our admissions team process your application, and then I review your application, and then we will invite you in for interview or not, and then you'll either complete an interview online if you are not in this country, if you're an international student, or you live significantly far away. But we do encourage people to actually come into the the Institute of Education and have a face-to-face interview with us. Okay, so you are currently in the MA Education programme, but you only have four-year high school education without GCSE. Will I be qualified to apply for this programme? That would be a question for admissions. So what I can do is I can ask that questions of admissions and let you know. Okay, we can get that message out to you. Okay, is that okay? That's our beautiful hub again. And this is how you can contact us, make contact with us. And as I say, you can contact me via email after this presentation. If you just search for me on the University of Reading website, you'll be able to find me. So, are there any other questions that any of you might have? Thank you, Greta. Greta's just put my email address in the chat. Thinking about the without GCSE, you can take an equivalency. And we offer the maths and English equivalency here at the Institute of Education. And then for science, if you need science, we recommend the equivalency.testing.com training program, an online program. And they are acceptable for us in terms of equivalent to a GCSE. We also advise students going down that route to actually make use of the BBC Bite Size programme, which is very, very informative and also is very accessible online. Okay, so the difference between an early years practitioner and an early years teacher status. So an early years practitioner is a practitioner who's working in an early years setting who is either unqualified, because early years settings can have staff that do not have a child development, child care qualification, or they have a level 2 or a level 3 childcare and education qualification. So that they are early years practitioners. Early years teachers, early years teacher status is a level 7. So you have to have a degree. You don't have to have a degree for a level 3 qualification, but for early years teacher status, you do have to have a degree and you will be studying at level 7. So that's the difference in terms of where your levels are. So if you think about level 3, it can be the equivalent. It is usually seen the equivalent to a GCSE. So that's the difference between a early years practitioner and an early years teacher with early years teacher status. Okay, thank you. Any other questions at all? Oh, Greta, thank you. Greta's actually put the link of how to apply up into the chat for you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So I'll just give you a few more minutes if you'd like to ask any questions at all. Okay. One more person typing. As I've said, there are funded places available for 2024. Yes, you can. Although you can work as a teaching assistant as well. Although you wouldn't be recognised as having a teacher status in that role. So it would depend on which age range. So early years teachers with early years teacher status can work with children birth to 5. So we do have people that have gone through our program that are working in schools, but they're in the reception class where they're still delivering the early years foundation stage. So hopefully that's answered your question. But with if you're a teaching assistant, you won't be recognised as being a qualified teacher and having early years teacher status. It doesn't qualify you to teach children older than 5. And that's the difference between qualified teacher status and early years teacher status. Practitioners, teachers with early years teacher status are specialists in working care and education for babies birth to 5 years. So the early years foundation stage, they are not qualified to teach Key Stage 1 curriculum or Key Stage 2 curriculum. In order to have that, you have to have QTS. Okay. I hope that answers your question for you. We currently have students on the programme now where 2 of them are actually working in reception classes, but they are delivering the early years foundation stage. And their schools have actually supported them onto this programme so that they can what's called team teach with the reception class teacher. So they both will take responsibility for the teaching and the education and care of those children in reception class. So it'll be children 4 to 5 that they'll be supporting, but it will be about them team teaching. So the relationship is exactly the same. Okay. Well, if there's no other further questions, thank you very much for attending this presentation. Please, if you have any further questions afterwards, please do drop me an email. Greta has popped up into the chat the link to how you can apply. But if, like I say, if you do have any further questions, please do not hesitate to come back to me. And if you want to have an individual Teams meeting, that will be fine as well. Okay, so thank you very much for attending, and hopefully I'll be receiving some of your applications soon. Take care and have a good evening.